also as the Mad Martian. Of course, you listen to the Martian Revelation is upon you all again now. So now that you've bagged them and smoked them, let's introduce our guest, Mr. Alfred Webre, as we get into the discussion about Venus, Earth, Mars, and the solar system, a positive vision and future. And Alfred Webre is a graduate of Georgetown Preparatory School in Classics in 1960. Yale University Industrial Administration Honors of 1964, Yale Law School of International Law in 1967, University of Texas Counseling in 1997, and a Fulbright Scholar in International Trade in 1968. Alfred has taught at 2 universities, Yale University Economics Department, Taxation, and University of Texas Government Department, Constitutional Law. And Alfred has served in leadership positions in environmental protection, international law and justice, public health, exopolitics, and public broadcasting. Alfred has been host on WBAI-FM New York and Vancouver Co-op Radio, and he has been featured on major international networks, including CBC TV, CBS TV, CNN TV, who gives a shit about them now, True TV, Press TV, and others. In exopolitics, while a futurist at Stanford Research Institute, Alfred served as director of the 1977 proposed Carter White House extraterrestrial communication study, as well as a disclosure project witness in 2001. And futurist Alfred Weber's principal social contributions have been 1, founding the science of exopolitics through his 2000 book, Exopolitics, and 2, the 2014 discovery of the Omniverse as the 3rd major cosmological body after the universe and the multiverse through which humanity understands the cosmos. And 3, the development of the positive future equation and the ascension hypothesis that describes soul development in our universe and omniverse. And this is one of his quotes: Earth humans are as holographic fragments of a living universe. Each of us has a holographic entity of God within us, as does each spiritual entity in the universe. We can influence events in the universe through conscious spiritual acts, and this is not a metaphor, but an actual reality. And, you know, some regards to that, I think I may believe in that. I know many others do, but, you know, that goes beyond me. But this night, again, it's an honor to have Alfred Webre back on with us. And it's been about a year, about this time, since he has last been on. So let's get into this with Mr. Webre. How you doing tonight, Alfred?
Yeah, good, Ken. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Oh, very good.
Much for being open. And I'd like to apologize to everyone. We had some issues going on there. It's been a real freaky night. You know, and I was even told by someone that, you know, to expect some weird things happening this night. So that's why I'm not all doom and gloomy and all pissed off. We got things going on. We got a good team going on. And, you know, the vibes are right with the gods, some say. Ain't that right? But, again, wow, it's been about a year, Mr. Webre. I didn't think it was that long since you were last on.
Yeah, well, you know, there's, it's sort of a transition and it's a learning time. And what I'd like to do for this program, if it's okay with you, I prepared a PowerPoint, and it's called Solar System Upgrade, Venus, Mars, Earth, and a Positive Future. And
I may have a problem with that. Is there any way that you could use your Skype, and I don't see your face on the main show page of the video, so I don't know, but is there any way that you could show those pics just using Skype, unless you could pull in your PowerPoint?
well, I was trying to work with Green Mean, and he didn't quite we didn't quite work it out there.
Right. We're not familiar with PowerPoint. At least I know I'm not.
Yeah.
And I might have Mr. Green also.
Well, look, I am in a parallel way. I'm videoing this on Zoom, so this will be up on my Exopolitics TV channel, and I will send you a link so that you can then upload it on your channel, and then everybody listening can download it from your channel, can download it from my channel. You know, but I will be talking a lot, and I will be describing the pictures. There are about 20 pictures, but mainly it's going to be the text that I will be talking about: Venus, Mars, Earth, and a positive future.
Okay, but just to reassure, there's no way that you can show those pictures in your Skype as you talk.
That Green Mean is the person that has got to determine that. Green Mean, could you tell me how to do that?
Mean Green, I think he was kind of confused at that too. We're kind of limited because we never use PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Alfred,
Yeah.
Alfred, on your main Skype window, hover your mouse near the bottom, and you may see the microphone call button, and you may see a chat thing, and then next to that is a share screen button. It's next to the beating heart.
Okay, let me just go here and get everything going. So here's the Skype, and then there's a beating heart.
Go to the left of it.
To the left of it, oh, it says share screen.
That's it.
So then what do it says start sharing.
Yep.
And then what do I do there?
Well,
I just clicked it.
That's fine. Just hold on a minute and I'll switch you over.
Okay.
Thank you, Green Mean. What a night. Wow, the Martian revelation. I hope you all packed them and smoked them. But hey, Mr. Weber's going to get into some very exciting things. And many of you guests have been wondering about Venus. You know, what's about Venus going on? You know, the only recent real news that I've talked about through the news this show recent months has been that all of a sudden they say that Venus was alive at one point, that water may still exist there, even though it's supposed to be all melty and boily. But remember, though, the Russian probe landed there years ago, and though it looked like Mars, red and brown, I didn't see any melting. I didn't see any boiling. So again, what have we been lied to about? You know, again, these are all part of the revelations that come out in this amazing day and age. Isn't that right, Mr. Weber? I'm just trying to keep layer time.
No, right. Okay, so tell me where we are, Mean Green.
There you go. We're sharing your screen right now.
Oh, okay. So how do I get to share my PowerPoint though? How is that going to happen? Can you see that?
Actually, I see images around you. Maybe if you disable your face, we can see the pictures there. Mean Green, is that a good assessment?
Yeah, but for now we can actually see it.
Oh, he's pulling it up. He's pulling something up. Yeah, we'll be able to see it. Pull it up more, I guess. Yeah. Oh, there you go. I don't know about you listeners. Well, there it is. Solar system upgrade, Venus, Mars, Earth, and a positive future.
Okay.
That's what we need.
Okay, so we're going to start now.
What a night.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is so that we really grok what our solar system is, and
Haven't heard that in a while.
and in the universe, another name for our solar system is the Great Catastrophe. And you can see there a picture of our solar system.
Yes,
It is a great catastrophe because on the left picture there, what you see is Earth, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. And you see this big sort of beige of just particles, and that's the asteroid belt. And what the asteroid belt, that was the planet Tiamat Marduk, which was a planet right outside of Mars, and it was completely obliterated, completely obliterated. And what happened in our solar system, which is the great catastrophe, is this. And also, if you look to the right, you'll see that right outside of our solar system is the Kuiper Belt, which is even more catastrophic pieces of rock. So we're like a catastrophe. We are like in the war zone. We're like a catastrophe happened here. And, you know, there's like ruins. And what happened was this, okay? And there's a great new book that came out, Aeon, A-O-N, by Mark Kimmel, that describes this. And we'll go through it right now. And what the great catastrophe is this. Earth was created, and Earth was a very, very special place in the universe. And our solar system and Earth and the contiguous planets were up at the 12th dimension. We were really in sort of a paradisical golden age status. And what occurred is that our civilizations began to experiment with portals and opening up portals and different types of energy. And with those portals and those experiments, negative energy started to infiltrate into.
By who though, Mr. Weber? Because according you hit everything right on Tiamat, but you're not obviously alluding that Tiamat then was connected to the Nibiru scenario where.
No. You're getting ahead of us. This is a story that you don't know yet. Just
okay.
sit back and watch the movie.
You got
it. Okay. And so we were in a golden age in the 12th dimension. And in this thing, they began experiments and opening portals, and negative energy began coming in and infiltrating itself into people. And slowly the civilization began to sink down to the 11th dimension, to the 12th. And to make a long story short, it sunk down to the 6th, to the 7th dimension, to the 6th, down to the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd. And what we had in the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd, in that we had a catastrophic destruction of our civilization, and we had a nuclear war here, a nuclear war which took Tiamat, which was a verdant planet like Earth. What we had in this solar system was the golden age. We had a thriving interplanetary society with teleportation, interplanetary teleportation, and it was all, you would teleport from Earth to Mars to Tiamat. It was amazing. You had pyramids on all three of them, to Venus, and it ended up with an enormous nuclear war.
Well, that one says to Dr. John Brandenburg's findings for sure of the nukes going off on Mars that helped destroy the atmosphere with the xenon 129 isotopes left behind.
Exactly. That's the scientific proof. So at the same time, on Mars and on Tiamat Marduk, there was planetary nuclear wars. Tiamat Marduk got obliterated, and you can see what happened. It turned into the asteroid belt, and there were 2 billion souls there, 2 billion human souls. It was extremely traumatic. They were suspended in suspended animation for about 100,000 years. And finally, the spiritual dimension was able to move them to Earth, and 2 billion of the souls that are now incarnating on Earth are the souls from Tiamat that are kind of trying to, recover from that trauma. And they're incarnating here now. Now, Mars, like Tiamat, which was a verdant planet like Earth is now, Mars was a round, verdant planet, and it got caught in this nuclear war. And like you said, we have the nuclear isotopes that are the proof of the hydrogen bombs. And so
only that comes from nuclear weaponry, no natural nuclear disasters, only from nuclear weaponized detonations, Xenon 129.
Exactly. And so it took a beautiful, verdant planet that was part of an interplanetary advanced civilization of Earth, Mars, and Tiamat, and it destroyed it. Tiamat became the asteroid belt. Mars, from being a beautiful, verdant planet, became an obloid pumpkin with a thin atmosphere and no surface vegetation, and a surviving population under the surface, and strange hybrid reptilian animals on the surface, which we'll show some pictures of. So this is the great catastrophe. We could call our solar system the great catastrophe. So we have the only way we can go from here is up. And so the whole theme of this is an upgrade for the solar system. So we're going to go to the next slide right now. And this is just to give another view so people see. There we have Venus, we have Mercury, we have Earth, and we have Mars. See, Tiamat was right next to Mars, and that turned into the asteroid belt. And that was from a nuclear war. Now, the nuclear war was a reptilian versus human nuclear war. And that's the same thing that happened on Mars. It was a reptilian human versus human nuclear war. And guess what? There's a reptilian versus human nuclear war threatening on Earth. And so the big issue is, are we going to have a nuclear trifecta in this solar system or not? Are we going to turn Earth, the last verdant planet in the solar system, is it going to become another asteroid belt? Is it become another obloid pumpkin planet, barren like Mars? Or are we going to be able to save the Earth and stop this? Because there are about a million reptilian souls incarnate in human bodies here, and about 10,000 of them incarnate in positions of authority. And they could do the same thing that they did on Tiamat and on Mars. So we're in a very precarious situation. So what we want to do here is to begin to raise awareness.
Okay, now, Mr. Weber, what is the advantage of them doing that unless they have somewhere else to go? Why would they do that to themselves also? Especially
because they originally, the reptilians from the Draco constellation, the Draco reptilians originally attacked the humans in Lyra. And we humans here on this solar system are part of the diaspora from Lyra. And here, things are so dicey in this solar system because of the great catastrophe that we have sentient artificial intelligence that's trying to take over this solar system and this planet. And the reptilians are in league with the AI. And for example, the AI has created 5G. And the center of 5G, just to finish my sentence here, the center of 5G was in Wuhan, China. And a week after they turned on the 5G is when the coronavirus took off. Because the secret plan of the sentient 5G is to turn Earth into an AI robotoid planet, to where all of us are taken over and our souls are taken out, our divine souls are taken out, and we become AI robotoids. That's what's going down here. It's called the transhumanist agenda. And we have a book that's coming out, it's being published at the end of the month on February 29th called Emergence of the Omniverse. And that's what it deals with, how to achieve spiritual freedom by letting go of the transhumanist agenda. But you can pre-order it now. And so this is really to make people aware of what the full situation is, and then to, through this book, capacity build them so that they have capacity to resist the transhumanist agenda. So this is a full multi-dimensional training that we're doing. You see what I'm saying?
So this AI is not originated from Earth then, that's part of the threat coming from deep space?
Yeah, exactly. This is sentient artificial intelligence. It's actually an entity into itself and a stakeholder into itself, like the Draco reptilians are a stakeholder, and so are the humans. But we have our backs against the wall here on Earth. But as we'll see, we have a secret weapon that if we get together, and they're called the Venetians, the Venusians, and yeah, so we're going to get together, and this solar system is going to be saved by love, not by force, but by love. Okay, so we're going to the next slide here, and that's just so everybody gets the full picture of what the Kuiper belt is. There you can see the solar system. You see all the inner solar system. You see Earth, Venus, Mercury, Mars. You see the asteroid belt, in the inner, but then look at the Kuiper belt, right? Now, the size of the rocks in the Kuiper belt is huge. That was even more catastrophe. So that could have been like a mega war that happened. You see what I'm saying?
There were more planets out there that also got destroyed that answers for those big bodies out there, the big objects of the Kuiper belt.
Yeah. Now, the cover story that the scientific canon is trying to feed us is that all this happened because of astronomical forces. That's false. It happened because of wars and catastrophes, and because of portals, and because of the infestation of negative energy that dragged down Earth and this golden age, 12th dimensional Earth we had, and dragged us down to 3D and 3D solar system that we have now.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There were most likely other planetary bodies out there. Maybe that's what Nibiru was once a part of, and that makes it come wayward in once in a while. It wasn't just a rogue planet, because supposedly it lies beyond and comes in. If you have that part of the model, sir, maybe it was once part of that collection of planetary bodies and to which Nibiru somehow survived and traverses through the zone?
Well, the thing is that our solar system has two suns. We're in a dual sun solar system, and the cycle of the solar system is 24,000 years. So that every 12,000, it's actually about 25,000 years. Every 12,500 years, the two suns are furthest apart, and that's when you're at the maximum of what they call the Kali Yuga, and things are really bad. And we were at the Kali Yuga at the time that Jesus Christ came. And that's why Jesus Christ came. Things were actually cosmically worse when Jesus Christ came. It was at the time of the maximal. Now we have moved beyond the Kali Yuga, and we're about 2,000 years beyond the Kali Yuga, and we have about 10,000 years to go before the golden age, when the two suns come together. But that's a different cycle, if you follow me. But nevertheless, of that, if we just look at our solar system went through the great catastrophe. Our galactic neighbors that are part of the Regional Galactic Governance Council, the Pleiades, the Alpha Centaurians, the Syrians, and others, they didn't go through this. They didn't go through this great catastrophe, and that's why they're part of the Regional Galactic Governance Council, and they look over us. They're advanced ethical human civilization, but we'll talk about them more. I'm going to go to the next slide here. Okay, this is just
fascinating, everybody.
I'm sorry?
This is fascinating stuff.
Yeah. This is, I mean, taking a big picture look at this is amazing, because Earth is like the biggest hardship post in the entire universe. We are the most targeted in the entire universe, just about. And this is just a picture again of the great catastrophe. You know, you can see the asteroid belt, you can see the Kuiper belt, and you can see, man, we were hit, as they say, I'm going to excuse my French, a cluster F. You know what I'm talking about.
This show's for mature audiences only, so you can speak frankly, right?
No. I'm not going to use any language, because this is going to go, you know, through many different
areas. We understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay, so
look how wide the orbit is of the asteroid field compared to the orbits of the inner planets. That's a very thick belt.
Oh, yeah. And that was the planet Tiamat Marduk, which was a very large Earth. It was the pride of the solar system. We had Earth, Mars, Venus, and Tiamat Marduk, and it was an interplanetary society. It was beautiful, and Marduk was the pride of the solar system. And look at it, it got blown up in a nuclear war. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, and that's also, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Thomas Van Flandern. He was on this show many years ago with the biggest question regarding the exploded planet hypothesis and what would make planets explode. Because according to him and his model, sir, is that it blew up from the inside outward. And that was the question, well, what would do something like that? We were thinking maybe, well, he would, of course, adhere publicly to some natural type of circumstances. But the obvious, potential is especially describing the civilization, solar system-wide ancient civilization there must have been, and regarding weaponry and stuff, and maybe they were doing or someone else did something to make it blow up from the inside out. So that's.
Oh yeah, yeah. We all have learned. In fact, if you go to the Star Wars theories, the Star Wars theories of films is how we learn our history. And there we know that they designed weapons to blow up planets, right? That's in that movie. And that's what we had. Those civilizations had designed weapons to blow up planets.
What were they trying to really tell us in those movies?
Yeah, the Star Wars movies are historical. They're historical records. And all we have to do is look at our solar system. Our solar system is the great catastrophe of the universe. And that's what we have to recognize and meditate on. And they're saying, you better not let it happen on Earth. And what we're going to do, we're going to get to the Venusians now, and they're here with messages because they stayed at the highest frequencies. And the Venusians are at very, very high frequencies.
Now, what do you mean, sir? Spirit-wise, or do you think they're still there, like on Mars, I believe, the subsurface illegals?
No, the Venusians exist in a higher frequency, and you'll see. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. Okay, so this is just just to show you the relative size of Earth, Venus, Mars, and Mercury. It's a little bit misleading because the planets aren't in that juxtaposition, but it just shows you what the relative size is.
Fairly close to the Earth, Venus, right?
No, but it is. The Earth is 93 million miles from the sun, and Earth and Venus are 26 million miles from each other.
Okay. 26, what's 26 divided by 2? That's interesting. I think there's a numerology thing there. I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
Okay, and here we have Earth and Mars. Okay, so we're going to move on here. Now, this is just to give an introduction to Mars. This is just for those who haven't seen it, some of the aftermath of Mars, the relics of the post-nuclear war, right?
Right.
So we had the NASA rover Spirit in November 2007 took photographs on the Columbia Plateau in the Gusev crater on Mars. This is from Spirit Photo PIA 10214. And this is kind of, more of the photograph there. But let's go to the next one. You can see here that this is like the aftermath of the nuclear holocaust. Mars used to be a verdant planet like Earth. Its atmosphere was blown away. That's why it doesn't have any surface vegetation. It doesn't have, the human population lives underground, and all you have on the surface are these weird reptilian animals, okay? But this is from photograph PIA 10214, and you can see what looks like a woman there with an arm.
It looks like Bigfoot, the old Bigfoot film walking.
Yeah, and so that's there, and this is the male partner. So that was like a statue that had two parts to a statue, a female and a male. And I don't know if you can see it here, but this was like, because it was like an Egyptian Mayan. This was like a carved head of Quetzalcoatl, the plumaged serpent, which you can see here. That's the serpent's mouth, its eyes, its plumes and stuff. This was like public statuary, which somehow survived the nuclear war. It's like, you know, if Earth had this ecocidal nuclear war where the only thing that was left was public statues, right? Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is, we have now a photograph of one of the five exophenotypes of Martian humans. This is called Homo martis extraterrestrialis. This is again NASA photo PIA 10214 on the Columbia Basin on Sokovsky Ridge. These are rocks here, and I don't know if you can see it, but you have a Martian humanoid. It's the closest thing to a gray. It's a Martian humanoid. It's dressed in a kind of a tan tunic. Here's its head. It's resting on, its arms are resting on the rock. There's its back to the camera, and it's kneeling on the ground. It has turquoise things on the ground. We can go to the next photo. This is a close-up. This is one of the first photos of a Martian human, of one of the five typologies, because we have five typologies. Homo martis terris is our genetic cousins, and they're just like us, just about, and they live underground in Mars, in underground cities, and they're the survivors of the nuclear war. And but here you have the head, and it's leaning on the rock there, and there's its spindly legs, and it would be like a gray ET here. So on the Martian surface, what you have is like a bunch of lizards and some gray ETs walking around. That's basically what you have.
Now remember, people, when you're looking at these, a lot of it is interpretation, but it's a lot of imagery there. People are finding a lot of different objects and things there. But also remember, we have orbital imagery that show giant pyramids, that show faces of Mars. So when you're considering that with these images, Alfred and others have been looking at these for a long time. So just bear with them and see where he's going. You're getting the overall gist. Do not.
Yeah. Those pyramids belong to the great interplanetary civilization that was prior to the nuclear war. And let me show you some of the stuff that has come up since the nuclear war. Here we have the figure of an insect-human hybrid scorpion man. You can see the figure of the body here.
Right.
And then you see the head is a human, and another one here. You know, that's what happens after this genocidal, ecocidal war. And here we have a second category of animals. These hybrids here we have, it has the body, it's on land. It has the body of an octopus, even though it's on land. And it has the head of a lion or a dog. These are these strange animals that just kind of came up. And here we have some of the plesiosaurs on Mars. Here it has its back to the camera of the Mars rover. That's the body of the plesiosaur. That's its neck right there. This is from the front. That's the body. That's the neck and the head. And these animals were wiped out on Earth by the KT extinction millions of years ago. So now we come here, and this is the sarcophagus of a king. This is on Mars, a stone sarcophagus of a king with the kingly headdress. These were the people that ruled this interplanetary society. They ruled Earth, they ruled Mars, and they ruled Tiamat Marduk. And it has the same iconography as the Egyptian. And it's the same, if you go to the Egyptian, this is an Egyptian Nefertiti. They have the helmet. And the reason for the helmet is that Nefertiti and this species of humans were what we call cone heads. And they had an expanded skull with a large brain. And they were the rulers of Earth, Mars, and Tiamat, and the solar system. Some people say that they are the covert rulers of Earth now, that they've gone underground.
We found a lot of, elongated skulls too, very mysterious in places like Nazca and even a few other places around the planet. And like you said, the Egyptians, it was global, so it's not far-fetched, people. Just bear with it. Now, some of these images, these look like familiar, like what Andrew Bashago was showing years ago.
Yeah, in fact, these are shows that back in 2008, 2009, Andy and I would put them together jointly, and we would go out and show them jointly because we were both founders of what's called the Mars Anomaly Research Society. That's back in 2008, 2009, 2010. These are slides that go back to the year 2008, but we're just recontextualizing them, but they were just on Mars. But what we're doing in this show is that we're recontextualizing it in terms of the entire solar system with Venus, Mars, Earth, Tiamat, and how to take this great catastrophe into a positive future.
Right.
Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. So this is a depiction of what Venus looked like prior to the great solar system war. This is what Venus looked like prior, and what Venus to the outside, to our 3D eyes, looks like now.
And believe it or not, people, what he's showing there in that image, that is exactly where NASA was going. In a news article for listeners this show can appreciate a few shows back of what they were describing and what they were saying was once there. And that there still may be water still there. Now, how if the planetary surface is boiling? Again, remember the Russian probe landed there, didn't last long, supposedly it melted, but yet the image I caught, I didn't see anything melting or boiling, but it makes you wonder, maybe they didn't want us to see the puddle it landed in, or the pile of, what, it had to be hushed. But that implicates a lot, Mr. Weber, because it shows that the so-called Goldilocks zone was further expanded, and that these worlds all in a row were all life.
Yeah, exactly. This was Earth and the solar system was the jewel of the universe. We were at the 12th dimension. If you go to the book Aeon, A-O-N by Mark Kimmel, we covered it just a few weeks ago, and there's a show on it. Just go to Exopolitics TV, and you'll see it. It's just amazing what Earth used to be prior to the Great Catastrophe. And we're in the aftermath of the Great Catastrophe in this solar system on Earth. And now the universe governance now has set it up to rebuild the Earth from 12th dimension and to re-bring it up to the 12th, from the 3rd to the 12th. And that's what's happening now. We're on it way up, but we're part of a universe-wide project to relift this solar system and relift Earth from what happened in the Great Catastrophe, where we descended down from the 12th to the 3rd. Now they're going to lift us back up. Now, we're describing in a facile sentence of a process that took several billion years. So, you know, but this just gives you a big picture appreciation of why everything in the solar system is so weird.
Yeah. Damn, Cujo. Damn. I'm sorry. God. Talk about destruction. Oh. Woo.
Yeah. Now,
So,
but we're going to get to a good part. We're going to get to a good part. Okay. So this is the beginning of a good part. Okay.
All right. But before you go there, Mr. Weber, how connected in the past do you think the Venusians were with Earth, and did they leave anything here of themselves, or are we all a part of each other?
Yeah, okay, that's a very good question. And so starting right now, we're on part 2 of the presentation, which is to introduce the Earth people to the Venusians. And this is a photograph of an ambassador from Venus who is here on Earth. And Venus is a matriarchy. The women rule on Venus.
So that old saying is true then.
What?
Men are from Mars, women from Venus.
Yeah, it's true.
Interesting.
Yeah, now let me just read, I'm going to read here passages from a great book, which I recommend to people. We had Robert Potter and Raymond Keller on as guests at Exopolitics TV. I recommend them to you. Raymond, they're both Venusian contactees, and Raymond Keller spent 6 weeks on Venus, and I recommend them. And he's written a trilogy of books on Venus, and this is from his book, Venus Rising. So I just want to start reading some passages so that you'll begin to get. Now, the reason why the Venusian society, they weren't destroyed as the Martians and the Tiamat, in Tiamat and Marduk, they were completely decimated. The 2 billion souls were completely decimated. They were stuck in this, out in nowhere for 100,000 years. And then they had to be brought here to Earth, and they're still reincarnating now to get over that trauma. In Mars, the Martians are underground in horrible conditions. In Venus, the Venusians live at a high frequency. They're above all of this, and you'll see some pictures of Venusian cities, okay? So they're out and above all of this. So through the power of love, they lived above this. And even though the 3D of their planet may be on fire, in their dimension, it's not on fire. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Martian Chronicles aspects, people, if you ever seen that, and how they would witness each other and talk to each other, and they were both in different, I wouldn't say times, but I think frequencies is a better term, wouldn't that, Mr. Weber?
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly it. So anyway, let me just go, and I'll just start reading now. This is from Raymond Keller's book Venus Rising. You can get it on Amazon in Kindle in ebook, and it's a beautiful book. So here we go. Quote: "Pure Venetians are very trusting beings, always trying to reach out to help those whom they feel are suffering terribly, never thinking about being rewarded or commended for their kind deeds."
Boy, I need a Venusian, babe.
Earth residents take unfair advantage of a Venusian's innate capacity to openly embrace and reach out to their planet, but our friends still choose to return to this plane of conflicts, assisting in its slow but progressive spiritual evolution, regardless of the negative response to their gestures. This planet is indeed fortunate to feel the unconditional love vibrations that can only emanate from Venus. That's from page 179 of Venus Rising. Okay?
So the good and love, I mean, the good love and evil deeds on this planet basically comes from Venetians and off-worlders converging soul-wise, as it was, onto this planet.
No, you see, we are Earth here, and we are struggling in the aftermath of the solar system of the great catastrophe, which is where Earth fell from the 12th dimension, essentially because all these portals were opened and negative entities and negative energy came through the portals, and Earth humans were infiltrated by the negative energy. And so here on Earth, if you encounter Earth humans that are consumed by a desire for power or to control or cruelty or hatred, they're consumed by the negative energy that was part of this great catastrophe. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. I'm seeing it now. While I'm seeing it, let me try to get it out of what I'm seeing. So, of what we hear of today, we hear of these UFOs coming in through portals. We know that there are people, like they say CERN is like also part of opening these portals, and therefore that's them building the technology to let their minions in.
Yeah. So there's still a struggle here with the negative energy.
That's fascinating. But you know what? We're at the top of the hour. We need to go to a break. Is that okay, sir?
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff. You said now we're in the next chapter, right? So
yeah.
That would be a perfect time. Are you okay with that, sir?
Oh, perfect.
All right. All right, excellent. Please mute your mic until we come back. It should be about 6 to 7 minutes. So you people have plenty of time to do. And remember, listeners, again, pack them and smoke them. You're definitely still going to need them when we come back on the Martian Revelation.
I'll be back.
Don't run, we are your friends.
he has he had the name and time frame wrong. Wait, let me go. What about the story of Dr. Stranges and Vlad back in the 1970s in Washington? Well,
Yeah. In fact, just as soon as we get back on, we have a picture of Valiant Thor in the Pentagon, and we're going to talk about when Valiant Thor established direct communication with Venus for President Eisenhower. And yeah, that was yeah, that was a very important event that occurred.
He was a strange looking dude too, by the pictures I seen of him. Kind of big and strong looking, almost Nordic like in a way.
Yeah.
Without the hair and everything. But let me see. But
yeah. So I'm not sure. Green Mean, can you help me here to get my presentation back up, or how's that going to work?
I guess like you did it before, drag your PowerPoint up or whatever you were doing that covers up your face there.
Does that, is that it? Are we back up now?
I see it. Everyone else should hopefully.
Whether it was up there. Okay, so all I have to do is bring it up now, just a sec. Oh boy, what happened there? Just, okay, so there we are.
The solar system catastrophe, the nuclear war evidence being discussed. How is that a coincidence throughout this all these various artifacts and high technologies on this planet?
Yeah.
Is what is seen on Mars. I'm just killing at a time, so Mr. Weber.
Okay, so from my end, I'm back up here. Can you see the pictures on my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is an ambassador from Venus to Earth, and I'd like to now just do a series of readings from this book, so you can get an idea of how advanced the Venusians are and how they're trying to outreach to our planet. And one of the main, very interesting contactee was Lobsang Rampa, an Englishman who was taken to Venus along with 6 others. Here, I'll just, I'm just trying to see. They went in a vehicle that was about 50 to 60 meters in diameter. There in Venus, they were met by beings who telepathically communicated instructions to them, helping them board the ship and seating them in what seemed to be a movie theater of some sort. Here they watched images from Earth's distant past, highlighting the interactions of Venusians and other extraterrestrials in Earth's history, during which time the craft had whisked them quickly and silently above Earth's atmosphere. One of the go-betweens between Earth and Venus are the Tibetans in Tibet. Venusians, when the documentary was over, they found themselves docking with yet a larger ship in a stationary orbit on the far side of the moon. Here they witnessed maintenance personnel servicing various spacecraft in a massive hangar. They also noted that spacecraft were continually arriving and departing, and that there were many different types of people aboard, ranging from those about 15 feet tall to some about 5 feet tall. Of course, these were not all Venusians. We learned that there was an association, a brotherhood composed of incarnate and disincarnate entities. those who were incarnate came from many different planets, and they had as their one aim the safeguarding of life. Man, we were told, was certainly not the highest form of evolution. And these people, these guardians, worked for creatures of all kind, not merely for man. Confirming what Swedenborgs and others had taught, that the whole omniverse is a habitable zone. The lamas learned that the entirety of the earth was a colony of the Brotherhood, and that various extraterrestrial races were patrolling the earth to do what they can, quote, to mitigate the effects of atomic radiation. And it was hoped to save the people of earth from blowing their world to pieces. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that poignant from what we know about Tiamat and what we know about Mars? That's why the Venusians are visiting Earth so much, so that we Earthlings will not blow our planet up. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it is. And it's quite, what's that word? Foretelling? It's quite, no, not foretelling. Well, maybe. In a way, it's prophetic in the sense. But how come they're not more around connecting with us now? Or is it because we're so overswamped by these swamp creatures, as it was?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, here we go. The scout ship landed without even a mild jerk or tremor. When they disembarked, they were led into a great hall where they were met by a Venusian delegation, the members of which were described as tall, grave-faced, but with a dignity and presence not known upon the turbulent earth. Of the Venusian appearance generally, Rampa notes that throughout his stay on Venus, he, quote, saw no one who by Earth standards was not startlingly beautiful. And this beauty even extended to their vast minds, where ugliness was not unknown. The lamas felt kind in the presence of such angelic beings who greeted them telepathically in floods of welcoming thoughts. Telepathic entities such as these do not require the use of translators or translation devices, insofar as telepathy employs the universal language of thought. The Earthmen were directed to take seats in a remote-controlled air car. It was about 30 feet long and floated some 2 or 3 inches above the ground. The air car whisked them from the reception hall to the Great Hall of Knowledge. The Venusian escort continued to accompany them in the air car. If there was such a thing as, quote, a superstar on Venus, Rampa and the others felt like they were being treated, being bombarded by all sorts of questions about life in Tibet from the enthusiastic thing. There was a crucial concern that the Space Brothers, as you like to call them, had concerning about the dangers of nuclear proliferation and the future of planet Earth. So that's something.
Do you think they can help? Do you think that can they step in, or is it up to us to stop it? And can we stop it? I mean,
well, here let me let me continue. The planet Earth is considered the most problematic world in our star sector. The contactees have been permitted to view the rise and fall of many civilizations on Earth before our own, taking note that these had destroyed themselves in senseless warfare. Humanity seems to have been stuck in a fruitless pattern of growth, war, destruction, start all over, growth, war, destruction, start all over ad infinitum. It seems as though humanity is trapped in a cycle of destruction and will never break through into a realm of harmony that would serve to enable all the people of Earth to reach a new level of wisdom. For this reason, the hierarchy of light will continue to send us sundry celestial avatars and messengers until such time as humanity is ready to join the cosmic brotherhood that anxiously awaits us. Okay, so it's a pretty tough situation viewed from the outside. It's pretty tough. Now, what's very interesting is that there's a whole passage on Nikola Tesla, who was a Venusian.
I've heard that.
Yeah. Matthews acknowledged, quote, Tesla had strange ideas. He always thought he had come from the planet Venus. He said as much to me, and the crew of a Venus spaceship said in one of their first messages that a male child was born on board their ship during its trip from Venus to Earth in July 1856. He arrived in near Gospic in Croatia. This is why he claimed that he was not born. Of course, whether Tesla was an Earthling or Venusian, he had to be born in some space. But Matthews reported that the Venusians informed him that Tesla was born on one of their spaceships at midnight on 9th July 1856, although his birth was later reported as taking place on 10 July 1856. The Venusians entrusted the infant to a suitable couple of Earth parents, the Reverend Milutin, Serbian Orthodox Church, and Judita Magdi Tesla, the daughter of a Serbian Orthodox priest, who would raise the young boy as though they were their own son. The child had been named Nikola by the Venusians, which is the name of his family town in reverse on Venus, called Alokin. Isn't that interesting? Alokin is Nikola backwards, and that's the name of his town on Venus.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
To be true. Now, I wonder if we could test the genetics of them, if someone was to dig them up or something.
Right.
And would be any differences or no?
Yeah.
That's amazing thought, though.
Yeah. And then he says, Oh, here we go. As the Venusians have told numerous contactees, the people of all lands must arrive at a conclusion that they are finished with their respective countries' military-industrial complexes. Once they have applied the admonition found in Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, such wonderful technologies can exist here on earth for the benefit of all humankind. Quote, they will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. As Tesla knew only too well, we will never be on the war to utopia so long as military governments and secret operations remain holding sway over our planet. From the pages of the Wall of Light, Matthews informs us that the Venusian spaceship that landed on his Quebec property on numerous occasions was a scout craft that only required 2 people to guide it. He also noted that they did not appear to have any visible piloting mechanism since the Venusians were able to accomplish all their maneuvering by means of thought projection. The craft seemed to be composed of metal and looked like 2 huge saucers put together rim to rim. Circling these rims about 20 feet away from the ship's main body was an unsupported band of material that the Venusians referred to as, quote, the guide ring. This was most remarkable as it had the appearance of being suspended in midair as if held in place by some magnetic force. There was also a mothership in orbit around the Earth that carried 24 smaller spacecraft, ground vehicles, crew, gardens, a recreation area, study rooms, and a meeting hall. The Venusians told Matthews that, quote, we are amazed and saddened to find how much of your lives is devoted to inventing and using destructive machines with which you murder each other. We see you spending vast sums of money pretending to bring peace on earth when you should know that the only way of obtaining peace is free through Christ's love. There is no other way, so why waste your money? Isn't that amazing? That's what the Venusians say.
So they believe in Christ.
Of course. In addition, Tesla allegedly communicated with Venusians by means of the so-called Teslascope, which he built in 1898. Then with mass use, he rebuilt it in 1938, incorporating various modifications that made it smaller and more streamlined. The Teslascope reportedly would emit a loud buzzing sound reminiscent of a beehive wherever contact with the Venusians was established. Tesla gave a design for an interplanetary communication set. He left to Matthews the task of getting the public interested in communicating with the inhabitants of other planets. Nevertheless, Tesla, the great inventor, mentioned many times during his career that he thought his inventions, such as his Tesla coil, used as a resonant receiver, could communicate with other planets. He even noted that the reception of repetitive signals on his devices of what he believed were extraterrestrial radio communications were coming from Mars and Venus.
Yes.
Oh, now, here we get to a very interesting section called the Bee Future Matriarchy. Listen to this one. You'll really enjoy this one. Quote, but the female mind, because Venus is a matriarchy, it's ruled by women. Women are the superior gender there.
Hot
Yeah, they are. But the female mind has demonstrated a capacity for all the mental acquirements and achievements of men. And as generations ensue, that capacity will be expanded. The average woman as well will be as well educated as the average man, they're talking about here on Earth, and then better educated, for the dormant facilities of her brain will be stimulated to an activity that will be all the more intense and powerful because of centuries of repose. Listen to that. Women will ignore precedent and startle civilization with their progress. The acquisition of new fields of endeavor by women, their gradual usurpation of leadership, will dull and finally dissipate feminine sensibilities, will choke the maternal instinct, such that marriage and motherhood may become abhorrent, and human civilization draw closer and closer to the perfect civilization of the bee. You know, the bees, the birds and the bees? The significance of this lies in the principle dominating the economy of the bee, the most highly organized and intelligently coordinated system of any form of non-rational animal, because apparently the bee is highly symbolic in Venusian life. The all-governant supremacy of the instinct for immortality, which makes divinity out of motherhood. The center of all bee life is the queen. Do you know that Venus is ruled by a queen? Okay.
That would be logical, and to keep men around, so that also tells us that they need to use us, you know, for the birds and the bees.
Well, here we go. Yeah, but wait. She dominates the hive, not through hereditary right, for any egg may be hatched into a reigning queen, but because she is the womb of this insect race, Tesla pondered the nature and organization of the hive, explaining that, quote, there are vast desexualized armies of workers whose sole aim and happiness in life is hard work. It is the perfection of communism, of socialized cooperative life, wherein all things, including the young, are the property and concern of all. Then there are the virgin bees, the princesses' bees, the females which are selected from the eggs of the queen when they are hatched and preserved in case an unfruitful queen should bring disappointment to the hive. And there are the male bees, few in number, unclean of habit, tolerated only because they are necessary to mate with the queen. When the time is ripe for the queen to take her nuptial flight, the male bees are drilled and regimented. The queen passes the drones which guard the gate of the hive, and the male bees follow her in rustling array. Strongest of all the inhabitants of the hive, more powerful than any of her subject, the queen launches into the air, spiraling upward and upward, the male bees following. Some of the pursuers weaken and fall, drop out of the nuptial chase, but the queen wings higher and higher until a point is reached in the far ether where one of the male bees remains. By the inflexible law of natural selection, he is the strongest and mates with the queen. At the moment of marriage, he splits asunder and he perishes. In the case, wow. So anyway, there.
I want to go Venus.
Yeah. No. But I mean, they were talking about the future of Earth. See, i.e., the changes that are coming to Earth have to do with the rise of the matriarchy here, and as on Venus of the queen. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, but also, like you said, though, communist.
No. Tesla was describing how bees operate, not how Venusians operate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't make that distinction because that's what was starting to turn me off in a way.
Yeah. No.
I see where he's going. I see where he's going.
Yeah. He was just talking about, so I'm just looking at. Okay, here we go. The metaphysicians. So I'm just kind of scrolling here through the various things to see if we get, because they're talking about densities and, oh, here we go. Valiant Thor. So let me bring the photograph of Valiant Thor. Can you see that photograph there on the screen? Yeah. There's Valiant Thor. Okay, so Valiant Thor, the Venusian transmitter. Following the visit of the Venusian emissary Valiant Thor to the Pentagon on 16 March 1957, the United States government, under the direction of President Eisenhower, commissioned the Ohio State University Radio Observatory to begin an exhaustive radio scan of the planet Venus. On the Radio Observatory facility in Columbus, Ohio, the department chair, Dr. John D. Krause, immediately ordered that radio scans then being conducted on Jupiter's magnetic field be dropped, with all personnel now focusing their radio investigations on our twin planet Venus. And apparently Venus and Earth are twin planets, and there's a lot of synchronicity between the solar cycles of Venus and Earth. And in addition to their work being carried out at Ohio State University, President Eisenhower also directly communicated with Dr. C.H. Meyer of the Naval Research Laboratory in Washington, D.C., diverting their efforts to a full-scale scan of Venus by both standard and radio astronomy. With both the Columbus and Washington radio telescopes dedicated to the Venus survey, hopes were high that intelligible signals would be detected early. By the end of April, nothing but static had been heard over the radio speakers. Was valiant Thor deceiving his hosts at the Pentagon, trying to throw them off the trail by pointing them to Venus? Was Thor attempting to keep the radio astronomers from discovering his true home world, perhaps Mars or Saturn? But just as Eisenhower was about to order that the radio investigations be diverted to Mars, on 2nd May 1957, a faint signal from Venus was picked up by the Naval Research Laboratory's facilities. While this first Venusian signal was barely detectable, within 4 days, its audio strength had increased fourfold as Venus was approaching the Earth, moving into a conjunctive phase. The signal was fixed in the ultra shortwave band on a wavelength of 3.15 centimeters. While there was little that Mayer could do with the signal in this initial phase of research, at least he could confirm to the president the veracity of Thor's assertion that Venus was a habitable world. And if the signal remained steady, he might be able to measure the intensity in order to garner more information about temperatures on Venus. Director Meyer was of the opinion that radio observations are superior to astronomical surveys with standard telescopes. After all, he reasoned that since Venus is overlaid by a thick bank of clouds, direct line of sight visual observations would be of little avail, but recorded signals might someday enable his team at the Naval Research Laboratory to find out a lot more about what was hiding under that dense cloud layer. With one signal's discovery at 3.15 centimeters, however, the Pentagon reasoned that there must be other transmissions from Venus that could be intercepted and interpreted by Department of Defense analysts. Therefore, the Ohio State facility was directed to ignore broadcasts at 3.15 centimeters and continued scanning all bands and frequencies. And so that is the situation with Thor. Now, here
we
it.
know that frequency, Mr. Weber. Can it be possible that they could still be transmitting, and can it be possible we can still pick that up today?
Oh, sure. There is a tremendous amount of communication between Venus and Earth, but it is very different from the situation between Earth and Mars. There are many Earth government bases on Mars. I asked Raymond Keller, who spent 6 weeks on Mars and who's written 3 books on Mars, where I'm quoting from his books here. There are no Earth government bases on Venus now. See, Venus is at a higher frequency, and they have been able to keep themselves separate and apart from our entanglements because we're entangled at a lower frequency, and we have been infiltrated by the dark energy of the great catastrophe. And our populations are still caught up in that dark energy, collectively and individually. And that's why we have all this political and social and duality consciousness of I win, you lose. And we're in this perpetual cycle of, who's on top. And that's all we think about. And it used to be we played who's on top with stone axes, and then we played it with horses, and now we're playing it with nuclear weapons. So that's the situation. And the long range thing is we're going to have to raise our frequency, and each of us resolve to not be infiltrated by that dark energy.
How would we do that though? If our physicality, you're saying in our physical realm we could shift our frequencies and still exist as we are?
Yeah. Well, this is how it's done, because we all have the capacity to raise our consciousness, and in this world, we have emissaries and many incarnates from Venus, and we have star seeds who come here from Venus and from other parts of the planet. And so here I'm going to read a bit about star seeds. Yeah, so we have to look at the positive.
But how would we change the frequency? A frequency is a frequency.
No. Star seeds operate at a higher frequency, i.e., we all can change our own frequencies. If we individually spend all our time thinking about conflict, our individual frequencies are going to be lower. But if we can individually start thinking about cooperation and positive future, our frequencies are going to elevate, and the frequencies of our planet are going to elevate, and our society.
Does that relate to like the type of music? I heard people say that, certain musics and stuff, they keep it at certain frequencies, and literally,
yeah, sure.
Frequencies.
Yeah, the hertz and all of that. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Star seeds. Because we only have about 15 minutes left. I just want to get through some of this. The star seeds incarnate into this world under the same conditions of helplessness as other human babies. They are also born with a total amnesia with regard to their true astral identity, origins, and purpose here on Earth. However, as the genes of star seeds are encoded with extraterrestrial DNA sequences, they are subject to a special, quote, wake-up call, thus allowing them to be activated, end of quote, by the Venusian signal at any moment in time. There's a Venusian signal. There's a Venusian transmitter that is sending signals. And if you can tune into it, it'll wake you up and bring you up to a higher frequency. That's what's going down here. It's amazing.
How? Like my radio, or what's the mechanism I could use? Not just thought. It's got to be a tech.
Yeah. It's inner awareness. It's inner awareness and detachment from conflict. Okay, here we go.
I got a lot to learn more on that. I agree, but maybe listeners out there forgive my ignorance. I just find it fascinating, so I just think out loud, sir. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. For some, this awakening unfolds as a gradual process, but for most, it is dramatic and abrupt, causing severe disruptions in behavior and lifestyle, much as demonstrated in the case of Howard Menger. In either event, memories of life on another planet or some other realm are restored in varying degrees of intensity. When this awareness occurs, most starseeds consciously choose to take up their assigned missions, while others are free to decline. Should they opt in favor of strengthening their extraterrestrial bonds, the starseeds' connection to the higher self are also fortified. Now that they are in harmony with their oversoul, the starseeds feel guided by a sense of inner knowing. To find out if you are one of the starseeds, consider the following list of attributes. Okay, signal. Physical, 65% are female, 35% are male. Compelling eyes, great magnitude, personal charisma, sensitive to electricity and electromagnetic fields, lower body temperature than the norm, chronic sinusitis, extra or transitional vertebra, hypersensitivity to sound, light, odors, swollen or painful joints, pain in the back of the neck, adversely affected by high humidity, survived a life-threatening illness, involved in a severe accident or trauma, emotional, feel a tremendous sense of urgency to fulfill their missions, experience a sense of oneness with the universe. Many have difficulty dealing with or expressing emotions or have a chemical imbalance. Extraterrestrial experiences. All believe in life on other planets. Most believe they have lived on another planet and can tell you about it. At an early age, they have had some kind of extraterrestrial, religious, or mystical experience. Believe they have encountered alien entities of an extraterrestrial or multidimensional level or being of light. Telepathic communication with an alien entity, physical or non-physical. They receive some form of communication from a higher source. Out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, metaphysics, believe in their spirit guides or angel, believe they have been blessed after the appearance of a holy figure, an intense religious experience, believe in a God or creational source of energy, believe in miracles, had an invisible playmate as a child, saw an elf, a wee person or a fairy, saw a ghost, aware of parallel existence at this time in other worlds, contacts with a deceased loved one, believe in reincarnation, have past life memories or memories of parallel experiences, psychic development platform, healing on themselves and others, experience the white light during meditation, experience clairvoyance and clairaudience, prophetic dreams or visions that have come to pass, see auras, practice automatic art, practice automatic writing, accessing the signal, okay? Just a few words regarding the awakening of star seeds need to be presented here before I give you the frequencies to access the Venusian signal. First, once an individual starseed begins his or her journey of self-discovery, they will most likely seek a change in careers, preferring to work in more creative and esoteric fields, more in compliance with their cosmic assignments or soul mission. This refocus in life realignment may require going back to school and devoting an inordinate amount of time to study and personal development that those closest to you may not understand. You may feel drawn to others more like yourself, those who also feel as though they are wanderers or walk-ins to this reality or timeline. But these are the ones who are operating on similar frequencies and predestined goals. And these are the individuals who can assist you in your period of transition. While the sense of closeness to such individuals is only a natural feeling as you're evolving back to the light, some family or friends will think you are withdrawing or even shunning them. So be prepared for their less than accepting reaction. And while many of the starseeds adapt and move on to deeper and more meaningful lives, others fall by the wayside, feeling lost and alone, not connecting with anyone who understands them. These are the starseeds who become depressed and withdrawn from society at large. Having briefed you on the implications inherent on getting your frequency on, I can now tell you, this is very important, that the planet Venus resonates tones at two very specific frequencies, 221.23 hertz and 409.1 hertz. other planets.
What these are in the pyramids and stuff, if any of them might match up, that's an interesting factor. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
And we'll go to our last break. Because we got some questions I want to get to from the listeners too, who are being patient. They're fascinated by this too, but to be fair, if you're okay with that, sir,
Oh, yeah.
we're able to stay a little longer. But go ahead.
Yeah. So it says other planets and moons in our solar system resonate at just one frequency, blah, blah, blah. And then I just want to go into this one thing on the Queen. Every fifth Venusian year heralds the farewell to our old Queen and the ascension of a new one. It just so happens that this transition will take place on Venus at the same time at the conclusion of the last 52-year Venus cycle on your Madeline calendar. If at all possible, a Venusian woman has the responsibility to be back on the home planet, on the home world, to help with the selection of a new queen and participate in the ascension ceremonies. I say ceremonies plural because the retiring queen ascends into the fifth dimension while the newly selected queen's ascends onto the throne of Venus. So that's a bit about how Venus is governed.
That's very interesting. Definitely think about that one, people. That's a lot to ponder, and I'm going to have to re-listen to this archive, and I know others will too. This is all fascinating.
Yeah, and I just wanted to show you there on the picture. That's a picture of what a city in Venus looks like. So they're very far out. They're very modern. And then I want to just get to the punchline here, and that is, we have the means to do this, to get to a positive future. First of all, and these are proposals that we put out publicly: abrogation of the secret treaties with the Draco, Orion Gray ETs, and Anunnaki reptilians that have been entered into. We have a solar system-wide treaties to make our entire solar system weapons-free and war-free, so we can just, get on with it. And then we have mutual education, trade, communication, technology, upliftment, and frequency ascension treaties and disclosure between Venus, Earth, and Mars. And the whole solar system ascends itself. Now, of course, that's going to take a long period of time, but that's a general structure. And I just wanted to bring it up, and that's a proposal to upgrade the entire solar system.
Well, that was a great presentation, a lot to ponder, and a lot of that makes sense. Again, the frequencies too, and how the pyramids, again, there's something to all that. It cannot be for nothing, the resonances and frequencies, and to ascend, hopefully it can be done a lot faster, especially individually, not just collectively on a worldwide level, because it starts with the individual. And one individual, believe me, I'm phased back through time. I'm here to make off fake, but even though I'm not, that being the case, as crazy as I am in that, I cannot do it alone. But an individual can help make those changes. Would you agree, sir?
Yeah. I mean, this is, once we're aware, we can start that journey step by step, and we can do it together. So,
On that note, everyone, still back with smoke. You're still going to need a little more. And let's go to our last break, if you will, and we'll come back, ask a few questions.
Sure.
And then we'll tidy up this ship. All right, so
Okay.
Please mute your mic, sir. So we're back, and ponder that, people, on the Martian Revelation.
I'll be back.
Don't run, we are your friends.
That's still upon you all again now. We're back with our guest, Mr. Alfred Webre. And think of the implications of all of this. This opens up new doorways to the realities that's a part of our history that's obviously being kept from us all by all these negative frequencies. So let's get to some questions, if you will. Thank you for your time, Mr. Weber. Terrence on Twitter asked, do you believe, Mr. Weber, that the universe is another hidden unknown to astronomers, or do astronomers and the government actually have the knowledge of planets from more ancient documents?
Well, this is we're I believe that we're in a time of expanding knowledge now, and it's like my book, which is coming out at the end of this month, says universe, multiverse, omniverse. And the universe was discovered around 3500 BC by the Sumerian astronomers as a singularity, sort of a singularity of dimensions, and the multiverse was discovered in 1895 by the American scientist William James to mean the collection of all the universes. And several scientists at Stanford University have estimated the number of universes that exist in the multiverse to be 10 to the seventh, and that number is so great that we don't have a name for it. And in fact, if I were to write, and any of us were to write out that number either by hand or in 12-point type, that number would be 260 million miles long. That's how many universes there are in the multiverse. Now, what was discovered in 2014, three scientists independently came out with books documenting and proving the existence and discovery of the omniverse, one of which was my book. And the omniverse equation is omniverse equals multiverse, or in other words, all the universes that exist, plus the spiritual dimensions, which equal the intelligent civilization of souls, the spiritual beings, and source. And we don't mean this in the sense of belief as a religion, but rather the scientific study of the soul, of the afterlife, and of source, of God. So we're in a brand new ballgame now. Hello?
Sir.
Yes, it looks like we had
Yes.
squirrels on the line.
We have what?
We had squirrels on the line.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, but that's pretty interesting though. Again, I was just saying the frequencies of this, we can tune into that and tune into the universe and or multiverse or omniverse, universal interdimensional frequency of languages. I mean, the thing you said, so many million miles long worth of multiverses or universes to where just to think if we could all channel into them without all those negative frequencies at war. You know, that's really interesting concepts to this. And I don't know if I have the brain capacity to grasp it all, but I am grasping because many of the things you stated I can relate to regarding star seeds, if you will, and experiences, even under my own mother while I was in her womb, according to her, and also growing up, and also which kicked me in and which entitled me to Mars Revealer and other things. But I won't get into that craziness now. This ain't all about me. This is about us all. Now, you mentioned a book that's coming out. Hopefully I get to advertise that for you, sir. But can you tell us about like when that will be? Do you have any upcoming events or conferences that you're going to be bringing forth a lot of this amazing information out at?
Yes, the book is Emergence of the Omniverse, and you can find out more about it by going to universebooks.com. That's universebooks.com, or you can look it up on Amazon. And we have it on pre-sale now. We have it at a special price, very inexpensive, less than $4. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got to link to the archive page for people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I'll check that out. So any upcoming conferences or anything that's going to be going on? With you,
Yes, yes. We'll be presenting all of this at the upcoming conference in Las Vegas in April. And you can find out more about that at in5d.com.
All right, what's the name of that conference? That sounds
It's got one of those long names, but it's in5d.com. It's all about conferences about 5D, being in the fifth dimension.
Interesting. Well, if you could shoot me that link when you have a chance, I'll add that to the archive page tomorrow, sir.
Oh, great.
So relevant information is there, and the links to that book where they can pre-order. That would be great too. And I'm sure many listeners will want to pick that up, especially if they go over this in the archives. They get heard a lot. The numbers are growing to this show, and it's phenomenal, and it just shows me that I'm on the right path and doing what I'm here sent back through time for. I know, I'm crazy. Don't listen to that part, people, because in time, it ain't going to matter, because we're on a new timeline, and we're going in the future till kingdom come, pun intended. We're making our fate, and anything else is irrelevant, wouldn't it? The traits of one's life one must go through, and the madness. Let's think of Back to the Future movies, how maddening it is to conceive of these things. But it brings us glimpses of the truth, which is where truth comes forth in movies, books, even in some cases music, where now it's pretty much dominated by the negative frequencies, in my opinion. But we're at war, and AI is behind it, and nothing has been inconsistent in regards to what Mr. Weber has said compared to what I have said since the show started airing back through time, is it? The listeners to this show to appreciate when you think about it. All right, do you have any final comments, sir?
Well, I'd just like to say that I'm very gratified to be able to share this with you, and I feel optimistic. I feel very optimistic that we've been able to now develop a positive vision by looking at the whole. And by the whole, I mean looking at our solar system and taking stock of it and saying, hey, we had a great catastrophe. We're in a solar system that is really kind of the most targeted solar system probably in the galaxy or in the universe even. And we have the resources to elevate the whole solar system with awareness, because the Venusians are here to aid us. The government of Mars and Martis, Homo Martis Terris, the Martian humans that are underground, they're even more advanced than the Earth humans. They're very peaceful, actually. And they want to move forward in a peaceful way. And we can, do a cordon off of the solar system. We can create kind of a peaceful zone here in the solar system and begin to elevate ourselves back up to the higher frequencies. We used to be at the 12th dimension at where we were. And with, the Venusians are kind of our skyhook because they can pull us up because they have enormously high frequencies. And there are a lot of Venusians living here with us now. And they're very, very high beings.
X-Warp Slipstream Chan states that he's seen you many times, and that you're well read super awesomely, and that Stargate movie and SG-1 and sci-fi Stargates possibly existing, and if so, are they functional?
I didn't quite get all. You're asking about Stargates?
Well, yeah, it was some question, I think, or a comment that I neglected to see. I apologize. But like the Stargate movie and SG-1, that type of stuff, Stargates, are they possibly existing? And if so, are they functional?
Okay, so you asked the $64,000 question. Because it was Stargates and portals that got us into this fix, into this problem. Because we were at 12D, and then everybody started experimenting and opening up portals, and then boom, if you do that indiscriminately, you open it up to negative influences and negative energy that can come in. And so the Stargate and the portals is, what are you opening it up to? So, Stargates by themselves, it's what's the purpose and where are they going and what's coming through there. It's really, we should concentrate on what's within us. Are we coming from a position of love and creation? And, the Stargate starts right here. From that internal star, which is right here. And because a lot of what I've seen of Stargates is opening up portals to very negative things. That's what the Iraq War was about, trying to control portals in Iraq, in the Middle East. I've seen portals in Spain, portals in various locations in the Cascades. I won't use names, but where very dubious energy comes through there. And so I think that we humans have to begin to look at our hearts more as our portal first. And then we have been victims of portals for the last billion years and have fallen down from the 12th dimension to the 3rd dimension where we are. So I haven't seen that movie, Stargate, but I mean, the Hollywood industry is, to the extent that it's taken over and mediated by the military industrial complex. I mean, they tend to use it for their propaganda. So I would tend to be very suspicious of it from an exopolitical point of view, if you want my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense too, and you're absolutely right, I think. So it seems that we've come full circle with that $64,000 question from the beginning. That's a nice place to tie it off. I'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Weber, for being on. It was definitely very awakening and spiritually so, as well as mind-opening and mind-boggling. And it's something that we all have to grasp and understand, especially if, like you said, we are to reach the point to when we can be ready for these Venusians to connect with us and to help us and to lift us up. Because like you said, time and time again, that kind of fits with scripture. Generation after generation passeth away, but the earth abideth forever. Hopefully it don't take us forever. Indeed. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Weber, for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
That archive page made. And till next time, sir, you have a good night.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye. So, think about that, people. How it came full circle there. That's